Equines in the First World War or the Great War are a topic that historians have become very interested in. For several decades, this is primarily focused on the Eastern Front, which was largely a cavalry war. But there's now, revisionist work on the role of equines in the Western Front. Horsepower. At the turn of the last century, horses were the primary source of energy. That's the first takeaway here. The second takeaway is that horses were not primarily chargers, they were primarily workhorses. Okay? I'm going to skip over the numbers, I'll tell you about those later. What I really want to get at is two sets of graphic images. One are posters, the second are photographs. And in each case, I want you to look at the rhetoric of the individual piece and the narrative that's being told. So first, some recruitment posters. These were designed to recruit men into the cavalry or the horse artillery. You can see on the left the appeal to just kind of phallic strength, on the right to moral rectitude. On the left here to individual courage, on the right to team courage under fire. There were appeals to duty that could be very straightforward, this is your duty, to a little bit more of an appeal to shame. He's ready to fight, or you. Notice the ambiguity of the pronoun he, which can mean either the man or the horse. As in the current military, there was also an appeal to careers, skill. Go in the military, go to France, learn a skill, become a farrier, become a veterinarian, you'll have a career after the war. Horses were also used in recruitment posters for what was called the Women's Land Army, both in Britain and in the United States. And if you want to compare these two images to the first images you saw, you see the emphasis there is on domesticity and agrarian productivity. 4 images now that have to do with raising funds for wounded horses in hospitals. What I want you to just look at in all 4 of these are the implicit equivalents of man and horse. And the first 2 that you just saw, the horses were wounded, clearly dying from shells. What were not shown were the 2 riders who would have also been dying. Here you have appeals to save horses through hospitals, which are clearly appeals to hospitals for men as well. Photographs were primarily documentary, but they were also narrative. And I want to lay out 2 narratives for you. One is essentially a sentimental narrative. One is essentially a narrative about horses as resources. So you have images of horses and men relaxing out in the field. You have images of horses in their herds, therefore safe. You have horses wearing gas masks, like men. And you have horses in field hospitals being cared for very professionally. You can also find, incidentally, images of dogs wearing gas masks. You have images of horses being indomitable, facing any challenge, swimming across rivers, and you have horses being very courageous, charging across a field. The next 2 slides, you're going to have horses working in teams, doing essential work behind the lines, and horses, in this case it's actually a mule, working individually right at the front, carrying shells. Now, think about horses just as resources. They were carted by the trainload across North America, shipped to England, and then again to France, frequently loaded or unloaded by slings, not simply by gangplanks, worked in the most horrible conditions. Horses drowned by the thousands in the mud or were shot. If you couldn't extricate the horse, you shot the horse. Thousands of horses were just detached from their units, wandered around behind the lines. When you have millions of horses dying, you have millions of carcasses that need to be disposed of. That's what these 2 pictures are. But I don't want to leave you on a nice Saturday afternoon on an image of a mass grave. I want to leave you on an image of redemption. An image that honors the equines that served in the war. And so I skipped the slide with numbers, a quick number. England at any point in the war had 1 million horses in the field. 530,000 were killed. Another 700,000 had to be disposed of at the end of the war. France, Germany, and Austria together, 3 million horses. So when we talk about equines in the Great War, we're not talking about a small number of horses. We're talking about millions of horses served and died.